Up today, how to change out your rotors and your brake pads on a Buick Rendezvous. Hey everybody, this is Tool Dude Tony. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of How to Fix Shit 101. On today's episode, we're going to change out the brake pads and rotors on a 2004 Buick Rendezvous. This brake job is pretty much the same on any of these GM class vehicles of this vintage in here. Okay, we're going to do a little upgrade today while we're at it. These aren't your normal stock OEM rotors. These are power stop rotors. They're supposed to give you like 20% more stopping power. Also going to change out the pads for these high performance pads. These are Evolution. These are ceramic, so this won't leave all that black brake dust stuff all over these fancy wheels on this thing. Okay, let's get started. First, put some chocks under your wheels. Jack it up. Take off your wheel. Okay, remove the negative battery connection. You want to disconnect the battery. Okay, locate your brake reservoir and take the lid off and just set it aside. Alright, now this is the brake assembly here. This is the rotor. We're going to replace that with the new one. This is the caliper itself. It comes in two pieces. This is the part that actually does the clamping action against the brake pads, and then this is just the bracket that holds the caliper in place. So first thing we need to do is take these two bolts off that hold this caliper clamping assembly apart. Okay, that one's loose. I already started that one, so that's why that's... Okay, keep track of your bolts. You don't want to lose any of these. Okay. This is a little bit tough to get off here because this rotor is so worn down. It's got a groove or a lip around its edge. Okay, so we'll just set that aside back here without kinking the hose up too much. Okay, now here's the brake pads. Look at that. There's nothing left there. This is how thick they should be when they're new. Wow. Look at that. There is nothing left on this brake. Okay, now we're going to remove the caliper bracket, which is this assembly here, by taking off these two bolts back here. Okay, now this particular braking system has these little metal clips. Here's some new ones that need to replace these. So let's take a look and see how these are in here. If you notice, on both sets, the bump is on the outside, and this little ridge that's not flat is towards the curved part, towards the inside of the bracket, whereas the flat part's out here. We want to make sure we put the new clips in the same way. Okay, flip it over, do the same thing on the other side. Okay, that's good. This will be the last one. That's it. Just a little bit in every one of them. Just smooth it out there. Just need a thin coating. Take this old rotor off. Okay, these high performance rotors are directional. This one has an R on it, meaning, hey, put it on the right side. The one for the other side had an L on it. But basically these grooves are meant to go in a certain direction there. But before we put them on, we need to clean them with some brake cleaner. Can you see that? Okay, clean them with some brake cleaner or some carb cleaner. Carb cleaner and brake cleaner are basically the same stuff. Now you have to clean them because they were on a boat from China or someplace. Maybe these were made in the United States, I'm not sure, but they were meant to stay stored for, months or maybe even years before they're used. So they put a nice coating on them of corrosion resistant stuff, which is something you don't want to get on your brake pads. Alright, so we'll go ahead and put the rotor on there without getting my greasy fingers on the surface. Now see how this is flopping around? It's make it very difficult to put this thing back together. So here's a little trick. This is just a big nut from something else that just slides over the lug nuts. Then I'm going to take a lug nut, basically just tighten it up, and now this whole rotor is pretty much where it needs to be. It'll make it real easy to do the rest of this assembly. Okay, let's go ahead and put the caliper bracket back on. Okay, before I put these pads in, I want to put grease here and here because that's where the caliper is going to push against it. This is special brake grease just for doing this kind of job. It's a high temperature silicone based grease. By putting this grease on here, when that metal pushes against the metal, it'll prevent it from squeaking. Okay, so I'll just put it in the bottom one, push it down, slide it up in here to the top. And just keep messing with, there it goes, and just pops right into place. And do the same thing on the inside. Alright, the caliper right now is basically adjusted to the old thickness of the brakes, which was basically nothing. So in order for this to fit around that, we have to compress this cylinder. Put your old brake shoe over this, put a clamp around it, and then just clamp it till it goes all the way till it can't go anymore. C-clamp's doing all the work, and just want to get it until you get it flush here. Can you see that? It's almost all the way back. That's far enough. That's good. We just put it back together again. It should slip right over the rotors. Careful with your little rubber gaskets. Make sure you don't mess those up. I'm going to push that in a little bit to get it to fit around here. One, but not the other. Okay, there we go. Takes a little finagling to get it in place. No big deal. Might have to wiggle this around to get it to line up. There it goes. Top one back in. Tighten these up. While you're in here, take a look at your brake lines and everything else, your CV joint gaskets. Make sure everything looks okay. If not, this would be a good time to replace it. Okay, now I can take this back off again. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and torque these wheels. This is a torque wrench. This particular model wants to be torqued to 100 foot-pounds. I have this torque wrench set at 100. We'll go ahead and clamp down that. Go. Go in a star pattern with this. Wow, 100 pounds must be a lot of pressure. Okay, that's 100 pounds. Because you hear that click? And that's how you change the brakes on a Buick Rendezvous. And probably a lot of other GM cars too with similar designs. All right, before you drive it then, get in your car, pump the brakes until you've got a solid pedal again, and then do your normal break-in routine where you go like 10 miles an hour, put on the brakes. Go 20 miles an hour, put on the brakes. Go 30 miles an hour, put on the brakes. Drive it around, just keep putting on the brakes, pump them. Make sure you've got solid brakes before you get out there into traffic and go nuts. Okay, so this is Tool Dude Tony. I'd like to thank you for watching this episode of How to Fix Shit 101. I hope you enjoyed it. And as I always say, if you're not fixing it yourself, you're paying somebody else to fix it, so get out there and fix something. Tool Dude, out of here.